Oop. Mhm.
All right, and we are live. Welcome to the BrainDrive weekly development call live stream. We do these calls every Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, where we update on our development progress from the previous week and plan out the coming week. Our mission here at BrainDrive is to build a superior user-owned alternative to big tech AI systems. I'm Dave Waring, and I handle the operations side here at BrainDrive.
And I'm David Jones, and I handle the technical aspects here at BrainDrive.
BrainDrive is a user-owned, MIT licensed personal AI system that I just had up on the screen.
Until you didn't.
And now, when I went back to sharing on Zoom, it brought up my other browser. So let's see if I can get it back up here. So this is our personal user-owned personal AI system. Our goal is to make owning a personal AI system as easy as owning a personal computer. So we're designed to run locally, but to do so with a very easy setup process. If you go to braindrive.ai, which is our website, you just scroll down and you see right here the install now, and there's three simple steps: install Docker, run the command, and open your BrainDrive. So we're trying to make local AI systems as easy as possible for even non-technical people to own and control their own AI system. And this system is built around helping you define and reach your goals. So when you come into the system, you have your BrainDrive plus one, which you can talk to about anything. And then you have career, relationships, fitness, finance, or starting a new project. Each of these are built around helping you define and reach your goals. So everything you see here from a system standpoint is running on the computer. We have cloud-based models ready to go that you can pay as you go, kind of like a prepaid calling card, or you can run local models via Olama or other cloud-based models via OpenRouter. So that's the AI system. In addition to helping people make it as easy as possible to own your own AI system, we're also trying to build a community for the user-owned AI movement for our part of that. And also, people can come here to collaborate on helping to build out the BrainDrive product and also to get report support and those types of things. So we encourage you to attend these calls and participate, and also to participate over on our community at community.braindrive.ai. And with that, I'll hand it over to Dave to talk us through the development progress from last week.
Well, if you have BrainDrive installed, you probably haven't noticed many changes. Let me get to sharing so we can get right there. There we go. This week's been mostly about dialing in what we currently have, fine-tuning it, any little issues that we're finding it and nuances we're kind of cleaning up, which of course had us spending a great deal of time in the settings, getting it the message across uniformly across no matter what tab you hit, looks the same, feels the same, and Dave's been pretty much heading that up. I just mainly come in from behind and go, okay, let's either push the PR, test it, and or any behind the scene code. And as you said, we have these dialed in really well. We're kind of just so anybody knows, we're kind of watching like what like LLM any issues have. We are staying on top of that and making sure that our version doesn't hit any of the hacked version. Because if you've been watching in the news,
Mhm.
literally everything's been hit. Even parking meters are probably being hit right now. It's like the AIs, they've gotten so much better for coding. And with that has came with, if you want to be on the dark web, the AIs are also getting better. And so it's like we're trying to stay diligent. With that came me this morning, making sure our dependent bot and policies were in place so that we can easily stay up on to date without sucking up an entire day of trying to get that working well. But for that, and we also have a backup strategy that we've been using now, testing it, and before anybody gets their hands on it, that works well. The migration, I use this mainly because it takes all my settings for me and stuff like that. But this is more for when we get different hosts, or if you have different hosts, you want to bounce between computers. This goes really well for that. But as far as for the user to see, there's not much going on this week because we've been spending a lot of time behind the scenes. The only things behind the scenes that probably you can't see, we've been working on SMS texting this week. We have that in a pause as we clean up other stuff, but that is to the point now where you can do a text. We just need to get with Twillo and figure out how that's going to get fine-tuned. And that has opened the door also with like me using my local setup on my phone. And I'll probably go into that next week once I fine-tune some little things so that anybody can easily set it up and get it up and running. The other thing that Dave doesn't know probably, he added a spec for a new update procedure. I got that coded over the weekend. That has been implemented,
Oh, wow.
so he can play with it this weekend. Um, because it's like a lot of these changes have come with a new harness that I've been working on the side, trying to get it better so we can move faster and without issues. So I got to play with that a little the weekend because of some free time, and that allowed me to work on Dave's stuff, get that cleaned up, and now he'll have something new to play with and tell me if it's broke or where it's broke because this was his baby. I just coded it, type thing. Uh, but hey, we got to move the ball forward, and that takes teamwork in that regard. Somebody sitting on the front end working that and say, "Hey, what about this?" And the guy in the back bench says, "Oh, okay, I'll get that done."
Yeah.
um, but that basically comes down to it. Let me share the screen because it really goes into. There we go. Stop sharing for a minute, and now I will bounce to my other screen. There we go. This is what we've done pretty much all this week. We are getting. Dave was kind of surprised like this, but as I said last week, my goal is for every week for this to get done. And each week to get easier and easier and easier, especially now with I have the Dependabot stuff all scripted. So that'll get to a press of a button. I have the security checks that are starting to take place a little better scripted. They need a little more work, I think, to be fine tuned. Otherwise, Monday will take an entire day of just production releases. Um, but we've added a few new things here. Like, as I said, Dave's new onboarding technique. He wants the user to be able to say, hey, I want this one. I don't want this one. And that's mainly what it boils down to. The user just talk to it because every release that comes about is not always for everybody. And this will give the user the opportunity to say, you know what, I'm really happy with things are. Don't touch that, and they would have that complete control over their own system, which, hey, it's your own system. You're an owner. You should have the ability to say, I don't want that. And now you do. As soon as we get that fine tuned, probably just a little better. Um, Automated some processes with the Monday builds and some pre-flight checks and like that. Last week, Nav noticed that a few things slipped through, and with that came a chance to improve what we were doing because it was like we had our first error in that regard. So we were like, hey, what caused this? How can we prevent this from happening in the future? And those due diligence were done this weekend. Uh, so that was basically what it comes down to. Like I said, small things being added. The big thing were the changes and fixes, cleaning up the core foundation of the architecture so that we don't have any issues and trying to be ahead of, especially the ongoing security concerns. And that is where probably Nav and I are going to spend this week of I'll handle from one aspect, he'll be on the hosting aspect, and by the end of the week, I fully want to have the entire setup on a local system where I can hammer the security aspects from both sides at the same time so that nothing gets dropped through a crack in the middle because him being on one side and me being on the other. But he did create a rather large system, has a lot of talking, a lot of moving parts, and need to spend a moment with him to make sure that I've ironed out what it actually does, the whole thing, and have each piece up as it should. And then our due diligence, make sure that we're managing secrets correctly. Because it's like I realized this weekend when working on the hosted side, I was like, wait a minute, only one person knows these secrets right now. If Nav, for whatever reason, disappeared by alien spaceships or whatever, we'd be like, I can't rebuild this right now. It would take me a hot minute
All right, so
to
let's
figure.
let's look through this change
Yep.
log here. So prompt-driven onboarding, scroll
Oh,
back up to the
yep.
top.
Yep.
Prompt-driven onboarding to-do seed for new users,
Yep.
including starter. So this is improvements to the way that the agent.md files work within BrainDrive. Is that
Yep. Yep.
correct? And
Yep.
making sure that we actually have to-do list functionality now, where when you go through your interview spec and build plan process, it creates to-dos for you.
Mhm.
And now you can talk to BrainDrive plus one and say, what's on my to-do list, add this, add that, and we'll continue to refine that because this is sort of our first micro step into moving from interview, spec, and build and into like now let's execute and
Yep.
let's make sure we get that loop going where we're improving what we're working on. Anything to add to that one?
No, it's pretty much as it states, it's also this is our first step to not just the prompt driven, but even how we're handling BrainDrive, because this is the first step of really, we've been saying it, just talk to it.
Yeah.
But now we're not into coding the back end to force functionality. We're making the AI be the intelligence. It's just we're going to turn the prompt into the engine where that prompt's going to get fed and it's going to feed the functionality. So this will give us more control and the owner more control if they wish to play and modify. They
Right.
can
And
do it
that's
here.
really exciting because you're not going to have to be a developer to modify the behavior of your brain drive. You're just going to go in and look at the instructions that are within these agent.md files,
Yep.
and you can modify those and get your brain drive to perform however you'd like it to perform. We've got it, set up nicely from a default standpoint, but as start, that would be sort of like the standard onboarding process that you might have if you worked with like an executive assistant outsourcing firm that they
Yep.
would put you through. But then as you go along in your day to day and working with your new assistant, you guys would come up with your own routines and ways that you like to work together. And the same thing's going to be true here. Okay, so automated production release runbook script with date-based version default. What is that?
That's me creating the build images that so when users they don't have to build or anything like that, we have actually pre-built images baked together. Nav uses them as well on his side, but if you get production or even the local version, you're not actually using the code to build like your graphical interface that you see on other installs. They always have that build command. Ours just come pre-done. So
Right.
it's quicker to get up and running. That's why it doesn't take a long time. You just bring the image down, your system's up.
Right. So this
Yep.
is the release process that we go through to
Yep.
release a new Docker image, which our plan is to do every Monday
Yep,
after
every
this
Monday.
call.
Yep,
And so these are the things that are going to be in that, build release. Now, okay. And so the runbook script, is that include all the security checks and
yep,
that
yep,
type of stuff?
yep.
That's what we're talking
Yeah,
about, right?
and yes, and they're each security check or each aspect of this run book is a separate script. That's so as I'm developing during the week, I can do pre-flight checks. So I can go, okay, I've been doing a lot of, or you did a lot, you did some client code to make sure it looks right. I have a pre-flight check so that I can do immediately to say, okay, this is working as we want it to. There's nothing that got crept in there. And that way I don't wait till Monday morning, run this and go, oh my God, we have a ton of errors. How'd this happen? So
Right.
this,
So you can sort of pre-run. That's
yep,
the pre-flight.
yep. It won't
Um,
build
and-
any images. It doesn't get pushed into the pipeline where all of a sudden somebody has a version they shouldn't have. It just allows us to do tests during the week so that when we get to Monday, we're just doing a final run. We're not experimenting to find out what's going wrong.
okay. And is that run done for this call now,
Nope,
or
nope.
is it going to be happen
I do
after?
not do any of that until after this call. I do the run, the actual legit run in case, let's say you're doing a demo, I'm doing a demo, we notice something that quite didn't go right. It happens. And I want to be able to make an adjustment off that. So we don't want to release a bad product to anybody.
Okay. I think we may want to make an adjustment to that in
Yep.
the future where people can bring down the new image while they're on this
Yep.
call and ask questions about it and that type of stuff.
True.
And you and I can do our checks. I mean, maybe we could even do that on Friday
Yep.
or, I know we like to include things over the weekend. We do work, so we'll talk about that. But I do think it would be nice to have people bring down the image in this call and be able to look at it and ask questions.
There's two sides of that because there's also the side that would say, hey, we want people focused on the call so we can get the full list of abilities that we put in and
Yeah.
not just, oh, I heard that. I like that. Wait, what did you say?
Okay, yeah, that's actually right. So you listen to the call, and then right after this call, we do the
Yep.
image release,
Yep.
or okay. Got it. All right. And then Dependabot configuration to automate dependency update PRs. This is basically whatever alerts that we've gotten from GitHub about the packages that we're using that we just want to make sure we stay up to date
Yep.
with, et cetera, correct?
Yes, and they come in groups now. We have low priority, mission, medium priority, and high priority, and that's also the alert of how much testing is required. Like low ones will just push immediately. There's nothing big that really needs to be tested. Could be very small. It's in our code base, but you get to the high priority. That's where I need to bring this down, run it through a full test to make sure it's not going to, the update doesn't screw with anything. They might have taken some code or introduced a bug. It happens. So it comes pre-packaged for us so that we can hit it correctly and know where we need to pause and take time, or it can move forward faster.
Okay, and are there any things that we are pausing and taking time on
Nope,
right now?
nope, everything got taken care of this morning. That's what the explosion of emails was. If you got, I don't know how yours mine's set up where I get an email for everyone, and it was just like an sudden explosion. Cleaned it up, got everything fixed up, and then now move forward.
Great. All right. And then the public agent.md boot file. This is for
And
coding agents to who people who want to either help us improve BrainDrive or to use BrainDrive as an example of an implementation of the personal AI architecture, which BrainDrive is built on. Uh, they can point their agent at that, correct?
yes.
All right.
Actually, it'll happen automatically. You don't have to point it. If you just bring up any type of vibe coding implementation, it goes to the first agent file in the root directory first before anything.
And you think that's good because my coding agent put that together. So I want to make sure that that's
I,
actually
I have no, I've had zero problems with it, and I use Codex all the time. So that'll be the difference right there.
okay. Settings modal copy rewritten for clearer onboarding setup guidance, including improved restore instructions.
Yep.
So this is around if you just want to bring back up the settings there, Dave.
Oh,
You
on
have it
mine.
handy. If not, I can
Oh, nope,
share.
I have it handy. I just
Okay.
have to stop sharing on that. That's all. Ooh, there we go. That's that one.
So if you
There we go.
go to the backup,
Yep.
we now have, Dave set us up so that we can back up to GitHub automatically and for free. And I just went in and made this really easy for non-technical people because I had to figure this out. So I just had my Claude code tell me what was going on. And we created a little 1, 2, 3 step here, easy enough for anybody to follow. And you're up and running and backing up on GitHub so you can run your BrainDrive locally and have all your files stored locally. And if that's all you want, you can have that. Or if you want backups, you can now back up to GitHub for free.
Yep.
So that's a pretty big upgrade there, I would say. And then same thing for the migrate. If you just click on that,
There we go.
um,
Yep.
it really easy to export your all of your settings and everything and all of your files. Like Dave was saying earlier in the call, if you want to switch to another computer or go from managed hosting to local or local to managed hosting, that's all made that really easy. Dave did for us.
And
So
this also, if you're a developer using BrainDrive and you're developing new features that might get into the memory and mess something up while you're coding, this allows you to just back up what you have before you start coding it. And so if you just scrap it all, you go, oh, I don't need that anymore. You can go back to that place in time where you were before.
great. Awesome. So if you want to close that out
Yep.
and go back to the change log.
There we go. And there we go.
Okay, chat experience
Yep.
updated with persistent activity indicator during file writes and improved post interview flow templates. I should probably do a bit. This is probably one of mine, and
It is what
so
it
I did a lot of. So this is like the thinking and what's
Yep.
happening when you're sitting there after you've
Yep.
said like create my plan or let's look at the spec or whatever it is. Those indicators there.
Yep.
Um, Post interview flow templates. I'm not sure what that is, but I guess that this is when it's writing the post interview, like
Yep.
when it's writing the templates, the
Yep.
build plan and the spec and everything. Okay. Product image release, manifest signing verification flow, and docs refined for Docker release builds. That's one of yours, right?
Yeah, this is myself and probably a little bit of nav in this. We're ironing down the security. And this is making sure that the images that we build are signed by us so that if there's something that somebody tries to get in the middle of that, which does happen on these Docker images, we actually have from front to back. It's signed, it's verified by us. Kind of similar to what Apple does with their stapling. This is almost the Docker image version of that.
Right. So we're really trying to be very buttoned up from a security standpoint and just, even though this is an open source project, we want to be as good or better as, any project, not just open source
Yeah,
project.
because to explain the security aspect of why this is important, you see many of these projects that are being hit. The project itself is not what's hit. It's the underlying foundation or package or architecture that they've utilized. They were hit and they exposed a weak point when doing that. So if GitHub gets hit where their Docker images or and containers are compromised for any reason, we've taken the due diligence of a security, and so they just can't come in between and go, okay, I'm going to mess with that. The key only exists on my computer. That's it. It's
Right.
not getting anywhere else, as far as for security goes, that's why. So it's like they're always missing that component to come in the middle and try to get between ours. The same thing with the dependabot stuff. It's like packages are being hit, their issues are being exposed, they're getting cleaned up. So we're going to make sure we stay diligent on that and up to date and
And a
aware
lot
of
of
these things.
people will not put the time that's needed into this because it's one of those things that if you're doing a good job, no one knows about it.
Yeah.
So a lot of people will spend time on things that are more user facing, especially in the early days of the project. But we want to make sure that we're really building on a solid foundation. So we're trying to dot all the I's and cross all the T's, even though this is a new project.
Yep.
Okay. So,
So,
installer defaults now prefer local mode while preserving quick start as a legacy
yep.
alias rather across what's that?
We when we were initially building this, we had a quick start version just to get up and we get up and running, and that was when we were working on the proof of concept. We're definitely out of that mode, so we are now putting the quick start mode into, we'll call it legacy mode right now, where it's only there just in case you're using it. If you used it, you would have got a message that when it comes up and it says, "Hey, this is being depreciated. You want to get off on and use local. You can do a backup at this time, change over to local install, load your files up, and not miss a beat." The next week, I plan on having the quick start mode out of there. So we will only have a dev, a local, and production.
Great. All right. So this is git ignore now ignores local codecs
Yeah.
workspace artifacts. This is just clean up from your side,
Yep.
right? On
Yep.
files. Dependabot policy now groups NPM updates by workspace and Semver level. What is this?
That's the severity level for security. What I was talking about above with the dependent bot and all like that, it isolates everything down into severity so that I know what I need to be working on faster.
Great. And then the next one, client web dependency bundle.
Same thing. It was while cleaning up the dependencies, found some where the client was behind. Is
Yep.
that what that basically what you had did that originally, and it exists within the image, our own image. So it was one of those things that kind of got forgot about, but now it's front and center, and we're actually having up to date with everything, so it's running smooth.
Great. And then I updated the roadmap this morning with all the work that we've been talking about, and we'll talk about that next after
Yep.
we get through the change log. Fixed BrainDrive managed Haiku. There's a slight issue with the model ID. All good.
Yep.
BrainDrive API key validation before vault persistence, including clear validation errors and post-update balance refresh behavior. That's one of Nav's, right?
That's Nav cleaning up from the credits on the client back to the hosting side and making sure it stays in sync. It looks like.
Okay. And the managed mode starter pack.
Boom. That was in okay. I found this when I was doing something else that creeped up. And it was hard coded and that was cleaned up. So it's no longer hard coded and dynamic.
Okay. Settings modal TypeScript build blockers.
That was Nav discovered it. I fixed it. I'm pretty sure, or he fixed it. It was him and I went back and forth and did two different security fixes this weekend. One of us cleaned it up, and there was just some TypeScript issues that were found in the entire project on the client. So we got those all cleaned up this weekend. And
Okay.
that's what implemented the above where I spoke about the pre-flight checks and stuff like that because we found an issue in our production runway at that point, and so we cleaned that up.
Okay. And then the config loading now tolerates unknown preference keys and prune stale preference entries.
Yep, that is for people like me who like the Twilio stuff I was working on. It introduced preferences for because of the Twilio data.
Yep.
And then when I switched back, it went bad on me because it had extra data than it was intended to. So what I did is I changed it so that if for whatever reason it has extra keys, it just won't care now.
Okay. NPM dependency vulnerabilities.
Let's see where are we.
That sounds like more to Dependabot
Yep, yep,
stuff. Okay. Client web test expectations updated for current settings, chat UI labels, and streaming typing indicator behavior. That's the
that,
thing I was working on with thinking, working,
yep,
etc. Okay, no user. Okay, is that everything, or is
yep. Nope,
that
that's
okay?
everything.
Okay, great. And then texting. Let's talk about texting and
Yep,
updates. Okay, you want to stop sharing for a minute?
yep.
So, the our hypothesis here, and also as a BrainDrive owner and user myself, I really want to just be able to talk to my
Yep,
BrainDrive, and especially from a mobile phone, my smartphone, my iPhone. How I talk to people is texting. And
yep,
so the idea here is just text it, right? And I can use voice for that. I can type it, whatever and it's just everybody texts, right? So
yep.
there's no additional, if you're a WhatsApp or a Telegram user, like that may be very familiar to you, but like the average person's still not using these, at least in the United States. So here we text, and everybody knows how to text.
Yep,
Um, so the idea was let's launch texting as our first multimodal capability with BrainDrive. And
yep,
Dave was working on that.
yep.
And you want to just kind of give a brief update on what you did, Dave?
Okay, first of all, we selected Twilio. They're probably
Twilio.
one of the
Twilio.
Twilio. That's right. Yeah, I get it confused with the command version. We select them because they're probably one of the, if you go to any kind of SMS feature to implement from an application side, they come up on the top of the list. So they're pretty prevalent, and we figure I can get the most mileage out of using them.
Right. So the
Yep,
brain drive needs a telephone number if you want to
yep,
text with it, and Twilio is like the number one infrastructure provider for device
yep,
texting and that type of thing. If you want to do this type of thing, Twilio is kind of the Stripe, if you've heard of Stripe for
yeah.
payment. They're that, but for texting and
E- Exactly. So then came how, especially because a lot of users will be locally. So it's how to make all the pieces that need to happen function correctly in a local environment that we cannot anticipate.
right. So you're going to be running BrainDrive. We want everything that works in the cloud to also
Yep.
work locally whenever possible. We're working on the local version. We always try and release things for the local version of Brain. It's not a local version for, BrainDrive to
Yeah.
run locally, self-hosted first.
Yep.
And so we want to, and that's difficult with texting because you need to be able to reach your computer where the BrainDrive is running in order to text with it. Yes?
Yes, and for those techies out there, that system requires a webhook, which means that from Twilio's server, which gets your text message, it needs to reach out to some place which on your local computer, and everybody's at least behind NAT most times, which is network address translation. I know I just lost the no techie people, but basically your computer is hidden behind a mask of different type of operations that happen in networks. And so the ability for it to reach into your home network safely and securely, touch only the aspect it needs to touch. So it's not like messing with Word or your Google Gmail. It just is looking for a piece of functionality within BrainDrive and says, I have a text message for you. And it hands the text message, and then it runs through the entire system as it's supposed to. Hey, what's my to-do list? And it says, okay, I have the to-do list, or BrainDrive says that, your little intelligence in there, and it fires it back. So on your phone at a football game, oh, I have 3 things to do today while I'm at a football game.
Right.
So,
Okay. And so So we have Twilio, which you have to set up
Yep.
with, and that's like a few couple dollars a month for the phone number, and then like a few like less than a penny a text or something like
A
that.
dollar 15 for the phone number.
Yep, a month.
And yep, and it's point zero zero eight
Yeah.
three per
Yeah. So
text.
80 cent,
Yeah.
0.8 cents,
Yeah,
right,
yeah,
per
really. It's
text. Right.
yes.
Okay. So pretty inexpensive. But you have to have this, you have to have the webhook set up,
Yep.
you have to have a tunnel set up, which is those things are free, right, to actually
The
set
only thing
up.
that's not free in the tunnel is I have a domain.
Yeah.
You have to have a domain name. So if you
Right.
go at the cheapest one, that costs you $9 a year.
Yeah.
You're in and out the door right there of your domain now. I am on the free version of Cloudflare. So I know this can be done on the free version. It just takes a little setup. We'll have a video for it. Um, they change your interface all the time, so you really can't use AI to guide you through it, or you'll deal with a lot of it telling you, "Oh, that's right, it must have changed." And trust me, that is nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
But we'll have a video for that. But it took 10, 15 minutes. You follow the screens. It's really as easy as that. No hidden magic of like, I'm a
Right.
genius.
But there's three big points of friction here. The first is you need to have a domain name,
Yep.
which if you're watching this call, you probably have a domain name. In fact, you probably have a bunch of domain names and you
Pick
buy
one.
new ones all the time every time you have an, I know I do. Every time I have an idea, the first thing I do is buy a domain name for it. So I've got plenty of domain names,
Yep.
but for the average person, buying a domain name is not a simple process.
Nope.
Okay, then you have to set up a tunnel on Cloudflare, which again, if you if you've never
It's
bought a
free.
domain name,
It's free,
it's
but if
free,
you've
but
never
it's
done this, but
yeah. And then the third thing is you have to set up an organization on Twilio and fill out some paperwork because they don't want people spamming
yep.
other people with phone numbers. So there's like
As
a
anybody would
whole,
expect, there's a lot of regulations behind phones, phone numbers, spam
yeah.
calls.
So the long story short here is my hope was that our Katie Carter persona, as we call them, the non-technical persona, it would actually be way easier to get them set up with a text messaging situation that for them to communicate with their brain drive via text than it would for something like Telegram, WhatsApp, or Discord if they're not already Telegram, WhatsApp, or Discord users. I think that hypothesis, at least for running locally, has been proven false.
Uh, it, the only way I can see it have is let's say we get all the points of friction known, and then we can attack them, if that makes sense. Because
Yeah.
something tells me this can be easier. We just don't know all the points of friction yet to isolate and narrow down. Okay, we can attack this way. We can attack XYZ. Because it might be as something as simple as we might be able to, as BrainDrive, become a provider.
Yeah, so
We,
we can do that. I looked, so if to offer this to via managed hosting
yep,
where BrainDrive is the provider, that is can be low friction, or we can handle all the
hmm
friction for the BrainDrive
yep,
owner that's using our managed hosting service if and when we launch
yep,
that. But for local, we can't do it.
yeah.
So I don't. I spent a you spent a lot of time on this. I spent a lot of time on this, and I'm pretty confident at this stage that it's going to be way easier to tell a Katie Carter, download a WhatsApp or a Telegram or whatever, and just use that. And secondly, what I do think might be a middle ground is it seems like you can provide if you're running like on a Mac Mini
Mhm.
or you're comfortable giving access to a tunnel to your computer, which a lot of people do,
Yep,
and I have Tailscale and do this. You can do it securely. Then uh, iMessage, there's a way to do this where you can text via your iMessage and
oh,
don't need like a new number and that type of stuff. So that may be an option for people
yep,
that want to run locally as well. So
yep,
this is a long-winded way of saying I think we should stop pursuing text messaging for our Katie Carter persona, which
mhm,
is our primary
yep,
persona, until we have a managed hosting service, at which point we can come back to that. And but for Adam Carter, we know that's our technical
yep.
persona. and we've done a lot of work on this already, so we should do the video. We should show people how to do what you've done.
Yep.
But I think assuming that people are going to do this, our non-technical personas are going to do this is a non-starter right now. That's what I came back with.
I got the same thing. It was like even, I mean, I can do a video on how to do tunneling and all like that, but I know there's going to be a point where if you're non-technical, the jargon is going to catch up to you really
Right.
quick.
And also, I think if you are technical, you can kind of figure this out yourself,
Well, you'll still
So,
be end up on YouTube and go, okay, how is this done? So if we
yeah,
had a really quick up to date, here's the interfaces. This will take you 5 minutes. Follow
right,
this video, which would be different than 3 hours of your life being
right.
sucked up.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So we should do that.
Yeah.
But I think we hit the pause button on
Yep.
that for now and come back to it later. All right. That's
Uh,
texting. Anything
one
else?
thing, one thing that did get exposed, because if we do spend a moment, here's how you create a tunnel. Whichever method you want to pick, great, because you may not be able to text now, but you can pull up BrainDrive on your phone.
Well, and to me, tail scale is still the
Yep.
easiest. Yeah. If you want
That's
to
what I'm
pull
saying.
up,
We still put up videos and like that
I
of how.
think Katie Carter can do tail scale.
Yeah,
I'm not sure
exactly.
about Cloudflare tunnels,
Yep.
and you don't need a domain on tail scale either.
Yep.
So it's just basically you download the app, you follow a few instructions, you're up and running, and you're using BrainDrive on your phone.
Yep.
Okay. All right. And then updates. So basically, a lot of the updates that we do to BrainDrive are to the agent.md files, which are the instructions that tell the AI what you want to happen in your BrainDrive, both from a global perspective and also when you're in a specific page or project, or if you want to, how you keep your to-do list, all these types of things. And, this is something that's sort of simple in concept, but I think a lot of people are still kind of catching on to it, is that you don't have to program a lot of this stuff anymore. You don't have to write code for it. You just tell the AI what you want it to do, and you make sure you're doing it in a way where the instructions are exposed to the AI only when it's trying to do the thing that you want it to do. So, for example, if you want the AI, if you want your BrainDrive to manage your to-do list in a certain way, you don't add that to the overall agent.md file in your BrainDrive. You add it to the instructions that are on the to-do list page that it's managing, right? So a
Yep.
lot of the updates that we're going to be doing are going to be to these agent.md files, whether we're changing instructions to optimize them to work better for an interview or to keep your to-do list or whatever it may be. To add new functionality, we'll be adding new MD files with new instructions around that new functionality. But the struggle that we're going to run up against very quickly as people are using their brain drive is you can modify these files to change the behavior of your brain drive. And if you've done that, you may or may not want an updated set of instructions coming into your brain drive that may overwrite the instructions that you've given and how you've personalized your brain drive to how you like to work, right?
Yep.
So we're trying to come up with a way to manage that. And the overarching, spec that we came up with here is we want BrainDrive to handle the updates for the BrainDrive owner, but in a way where you're talking to it,
Yep.
right? It's like if you had Dave sitting on a call with you telling you this is what's coming through in the update, and here's how it's going to affect your system, and you may want to do this or not do this, and here's why. Trying to replicate that same experience within BrainDrive.
Hmm. If it all works great, yes.
So it sounds like you released something on
I
this
don't. Hey,
then.
I don't. Okay, I have to check because I'm watching. Look at the log. I think I caught myself not pulling it back because I wanted you to play with this first.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So
So it's like,
we'll talk about this next week,
yeah,
is
yeah. Next week,
basically.
I was like, I realized as we were talking, I was like, wait a minute. I remember having this conversation in my head this weekend when
Yeah,
I
yeah, no,
coded
that's
it.
good. Yeah, I
Yeah,
wasn't expecting it to be in the release. Okay, so we'll talk about
yeah.
that next week, but that's a little preview. And if you want to be involved in the testing on that, that's going to be in our dev release,
Yeah, I
right?
do think that's going to be, as we talked about on Friday, this is going to be the future. These models are getting so smart as you look at it's like OpenAI, both Anthropic, they've had releases almost like bragging each other. My model's smarter than yours.
Right.
It's like to continue coding the entire functionality is almost getting archaic. Now is, as you said, let's leverage the agent files. Let's say, hey, this is the to-do system. and let it do it.
Right, which is awesome.
Yep.
Okay, let me just make sure, check here. All
All
right,
right,
good.
and we are live.
All right, before we move on to the
Next week.
yes. All right. So for next week, or this coming week rather,
Yep.
this week,
Yep. This week.
let's bring up our roadmap. This is going to be in the BrainDrive repo root. We have our roadmap, and we have our own phase. Phase one, we're in 5 phases: own,
Yep.
benefit, connect, earn, decentralize. Phase one is done. That's the personal AI architecture, the open architecture that BrainDrive is built on, and our first implementation of that. And now we're working on turning BrainDrive from an AI you own into a partner that you rely on and that you still own. So the goal is you'd rather use your BrainDrive than any big tech alternative for managing your personal context. These are all the things that we've already done. And now we're working on getting managed hosting up for people that want to prefer a managed situation with their BrainDrive. You'll always be able to run the exact same BrainDrive locally. This is not a different system. It's the same system, just run by BrainDrive's managed hosting. You could also run it on another host if you wanted to. That's we're in testing with this right now. And David, sounds like you and I have some things to discuss
Yep.
around that from a security standpoint, and we'll do that and provide an update on that next week. Version history, every change is reversible. Is this done now?
Okay. It depends on which aspect you're talking about. Are you talking about your system? Every change is reversible, or every build image?
No, I'm talking about the brain drive owner is making changes and they can reverse them.
That's done. I need to hand you the branch to test and play with.
Okay, so this is testing.
Yep.
Okay, working sessions, discuss decisions, get plan, grounded advice. So
Yep.
this I would put working sessions, progress capture, plan review,
Hmm.
cross-pollination, and pulse are all part of moving from this interview spec and build plan, which we've done a lot of testing on and we're happy with. We'll continue to
Yep.
improve it. But to the like, okay, now I've got my plans and I'm executing, and what is that experience going to look like? So that's what I'm going to be working on in terms of sort of the next phase. And then these are all the things that we have not started working on yet. I think there's still some other stuff for you to be working on, Dave. It sounds like around security and managed
Yep.
hosting and all that type of stuff and updates and making sure all that's great. But I think still going back to messaging surfaces, since SMS didn't work out like we
Yep.
want to, I think we need to figure out mobile next would be sort of the next
Yep.
thing once you're done with some of the stuff that you already have in flight.
Yeah. Like the tail scale, like it's something where somebody could, it doesn't matter who you are, you could be 6 years old. Get up. I want tail scale. You're up and running. You have your phone, and
Yes.
now you have Brain Drive on it, and you have it
You
no
have to
matter
be
where you're at.
18 to use
Yeah.
Brain Drive,
But you
but
have to get to that
you're
warning.
supposed to be 18 to use
Yeah,
it.
when
On
you
the
have to
open
at least
source.
get the
Yeah.
warning. If when you get on your phone, it'll say you have to be 18.
Yeah.
It worked.
Right.
But yeah, and we have
So
some security stuff really to clean up and address. I found some old code. I want to get that wiped out this week. I was going to do it this morning, but I just got caught up in my own little swim
that's
pool.
fine. And then I
Dependabots.
think, as we're moving towards a launch year, um, document like making sure personal AI architecture is where we want it to be,
Yep,
and the GitHub repos are where we want them to be, so developers can get involved and be excited, etc. Even though Katie Carter is our primary persona, we still want to have a really professional project for developers who
yep,
want to build on BrainDrive or build their own implementation on
yep,
the personal AI architecture. So those are kind of the next priorities that I see coming for you. Does that sound right?
yep, yeah, yeah. And by the PAA, we're talking about the boilerplate that we spoke about this week. Okay.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
just when a developer lands there, they're
Yeah.
excited and see all the stuff that we've done instead of like getting buried in,
Buried
you
in the
know.
Bible.
Yeah. So that would be kind of the two things that would be next up from my perspective on
Yep.
your list. And then on my list, it's moving to that execute phase within BrainDrive and
Hmm.
testing all of that and getting that working
Yep.
how I envision it from a product standpoint. And then I last week I finished up the ebook off of the course, so we have a lead capture now. I want to get that lead capture live on our website and also on our community
Yep.
so that as people start to come into the project, we can hopefully attract them to and give them enough value that they sign up for an email list and
Yep.
they'll be up to date on everything that we're doing with BrainDrive. And also that lead capture gets them up and running on BrainDrive.
Yep.
Which is obviously what we're looking to do for everyone. So taking that, getting the lead captures up, and then I don't need to produce a lot more content, but I want to have a good content calendar going so that content's a momentum game, and
Yeah.
we've got a lot of stopping and starting in the past, and that really harms the moment. Like it takes a while to get the momentum going, and
Yeah.
so I just want to make sure, like once I start producing content and we're putting it out there, that like we've got a good runway going for
The
that.
last 6 weeks, 7 weeks, we've really been building, and it's like I think everything's coming together. I have no blinks on anything. It
Yep.
was other than the fact of like I look at the last week, I was like, oh my God, it looks like I didn't do anything. But I know it wasn't true, but it was like I just normally you look at the interfaces and it's like I did that or I did do this
You're
and
right.
this time I looked at it this morning and I
We're
was like,
trying to get all the behind the
yeah,
scenes stuff done so that when we launch, we can just focus on adding
yep.
and building on top of a strong foundation.
And we can offer a very secure. It works with no, okay, that's not ready yet, or anything like
Yeah.
that. It's just
There's plenty of
everything.
hobby projects out there for people to use. There's
Yep.
not that many like professional open source MIT licensed personal AI systems, and that's the gap that we want to fill for
Yep.
people. All right, very good. Anything else you want to talk about this week before we sign off?
Nope. Nope. I'm good. Ready for another week like that.
Excellent. All right, great. As we talked about at the beginning of the call, our mission here at BrainDrive is to build a superior user-owned alternative to big tech AI systems. We do these calls every Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, live stream on YouTube, and we post the recordings over on our community forums at community.braindrive.ai. Both places are open and welcome to anyone who has questions, comments, ideas, or wants to participate in the project. So we hope to see you there. And with that, we'll see you next week.